Hey, we're here at the Crunchy Red Fruit Warehouse to talk about the next release, which is entitled SUD. And this is wines that come all from South America. We are so excited to present these. To me, this is a culmination of our hope to introduce you to interesting things from around the world, and also our bent towards featuring wines that are organically farmed, sustainably grown, made with minimal interventions or chemicals, all of which these wines fit the bill of. But they're from 2 different countries, they're from several different regions, and 6 different winemakers who are all doing really exciting things, but just expressing each of their regions in really interesting and diverse ways. And so we're going to get started with this wine from Casablanca Valley in Chile. This is the only white wine in this box. The reason being is that some of these reds are a little bit lighter, and it didn't seem like we needed lots of different white wines. There's really not a lot of classic white wines from South America. You got Torontos from Argentina, maybe not my first pick, but you got this wine from Chile, which is classic Sauvignon Blanc from the coast. Wonderful stuff and really beautiful. So let's try it out. First off, zingy, really profoundly zippy and rustic and tangy and tart. All the things I want from Sauvignon Blanc. It's got a ton of citrus quality. And curiously, this wine is 2016. This is a 6-year-old Sauvignon Blanc, which is not something you normally run across, but it is delicious. It's got a lot to offer, and I think it's really meaningful. Definitely a wine for fish or for salads or other really fun stuff like that. Okay, we're gonna keep going. The next wine is one of the light reds, but man, it's so delicious. This is Bequignol. This is a southern French grape that there's more of in Argentina than there is in France. I think France has like a couple acres left, and Argentina has a couple thousand acres. So definitely something that you'll see, like with Malbec, it's almost taken on a better identity in its new place than it is in its homeland. This is 2020 Bequignol from Escala, Humana. The winemaker's name is Yerman, and this is an expression of this grape, Bequignol. Really light red, great fruity qualities. It's almost fruit soda-like. It's very drinkable. It's floral. There's a hint of savory, peppery quality on the palate. I think most compelling about this wine is the pairing we chose to do it with. When I was in Chile, I had a lomito sandwich, and it's kind of something that if you're going to an open-air market or you're going to shop around like the square, you'll see stands selling lomito sandwiches, and it's pork loin or pork shoulder, and you can kind of slice it thinly and then put it between 2 pieces of bread with fresh avocado and tomato. It is delightful, and I wanted a really fruity, really easy drinking red to go with that sandwich, so we picked our recipe collaborator Pilar Hernandez. We picked her lomito recipe for this, and we already made it and had it with this wine, and it's delicious. So if they're gonna make one recipe from this mix, you should definitely try that one. Very tangy, very bright and refreshing. Okay, we're gonna psych you out a little bit, and this is not actually something that I knew 100% going into picking these 2 wines for the release, but these next 2 wines, Cara, Criolla, Chica, and Pedro, Parra, Pais. The Criolla Chica and the Pais are the same grape variety. They're both related to or a descendant of Listan Prieto, which is also going by the name of Listan Negro in the Canary Islands, and it's planted throughout the sort of Spanish colonial world, as it were. There's a little bit of it in Mexico, a lot of it in Chile, a little bit of it in Argentina. The first iteration is this 2021 Criolla Chica. This is made by a group called Cara, and maybe the person you may have heard of that comes from this group is Sebastian Zucardi, and he is a winemaker from Argentina. I've met him before a couple times. He's just the coolest guy, and he's head of this big winery called Santa Julia, but he also has a really beautiful medium-sized winery called Zucardi that bears his name and is just wonderful for Malbecs and all sorts of wines that they're making. Very terroir-focused, organic viticulture. And then Cara is a project he started with some friends in the high up elevation of the Uco Valley in the place called the Valle de Congasta. And this is old vines of Criolla Chica that had kind of gotten forgotten to time, and they resurrected this vineyard and are making it in a very low-tech, low-input, zero chemicals in the vineyard or winery type of way. And yeah, look at it. It's really light. It's a little bit in terms of fruit profile similar to the Bequignol, cherries and strawberries and this fresh mountain fruit, but then it also has this wonderful bitter and herbal quality. Almost reminds me of like Italian vermouth with that nice pleasant bitterness, and you'll get that on the palate too. Tangy, hits with that bitterness on the finish. Man, it's so good. We picked a cilantro garlic chicken recipe to go with this wine. I think it'll be so killer. Highly recommend it. Okay, so same grape variety, but we're going across the Andes Mountains into the Itata Valley in southern Chile, and this is Pedro Parra. And Pedro Parra, probably all these winemakers have either met Pedro Parra or know him because he's worked in almost every major wine producing country around the world, working on terroir, working on viticulture and vineyard and vine planting and soil and erosion and geology. He is this genius multi-national figure that flies around and helps consult for places like Domaine Rouleau in France or Commando G in Spain, some really top flight, incredible wineries. But he lives in Concepcion, which is in the Itata Valley in southern Chile. And this is a vineyard that he could probably drive to in less than an hour from his house. And you know, his work, he's from Chile, and his work kind of working up and down the coast of Chile, he passes by really interesting vineyards and saw this one and was like, oh yeah, we should make a wine from this. And so this is his Vinista Pais, and it is his expression of the Listan Prieto grape. You know, one thing I noticed right away from the difference between the Argentine and the Chilean versions of this grape is that the Chilean one has a strong minty eucalyptusy note. And that's not by accident. That is the fact that there are actual eucalyptus trees planted all around the Chilean coast, and some of them surrounding vineyards in places like Itata. So you do get that minty eucalyptusy note that comes from eucalyptus oil given off by the trees near the vineyards. That's pretty cool stuff. So, strongly herbal, wonderful red cherry fruit, really lifted, floral qualities. It's just yummy. So we're going to stay in Chile for this next wine. These next two, I would call them kind of our anchor wines. These are ones that are a little bit harder to get. They're ones that I kind of had to fight for to have brought in just for us. Some of the stock of these wines was brought in from out of state just to make sure that we could fulfill our orders, because I wanted these wines to be great and for you to love them. This is 2015 Garage Wine Company, Portezuelo Vineyard, Carignan. And this is a wine that comes from the Itata Valley as well, but is specifically from the Portezuelo Vineyard. And this is a 2015, so it's got a little age. You know, we're going to something that's had some time in barrel and bottle to mellow out. This is made by a guy named Derek Mossman. He started Garage Wine Company and really has been a champion in a huge way for Chilean viticulture. He started Movi, which is a independent vignerons movement in Chile. So he's kind of helped unite and become a public face for small growers all around Chile who want to make really exciting wines and don't really want them to be process driven or chemical laden. It's more about the purity and the transparency of the product itself. And they work this by hand and with horse drawn tractor, and they do a lot of stuff that, you know, takes a lot more work and more cost, but it means you get a more interesting and more compelling product in the end. You're going to get the age on this one. It started to get some complexity and funk. The grape here is not Pais, but Carignan is the main grape, or what they might call Carignana in Chile. And Carignan is not always my favorite grape variety. It can often be a little too prickly or a little too kind of angular and not very fun. This one, however, has a wonderful chocolatey, silky quality to it, both on the nose and the palate. It has all that red fruit, but the red fruit is kind of got a bruised, baked quality to it. So it's like baked cherry and baked strawberry. And it also has those wonderful green herbs, a little bit of eucalyptus, but also mint and rosemary and fresh garden herbs. Man, this wine has such immense texture. It's spent a lot of time macerating, and it just has some richness and weight and tannin to it that you don't really find in other Chilean lighter reds like this. I mean, the color is pretty dark. I think some of that is the Carignan itself and also just the extraction. Very good though. Man, I can't believe we put that wine in this box. I'm really excited you could get to have it with us. Okay, lastly, I want to highlight another one of the famous winemakers of South America. This is a guy by the name of Matias Riccitelli, and he is from Argentina. And he was born in Salta in the north and then moved down to Mendoza with his family. His dad's a winemaker. He learned alongside his dad. Then he started flying all over the country and all over the world, learning how to make wine in other places, and then wanted to come back to Argentina and really focus on purity and transparency and low intervention winemaking, which is something, of course, we're a big fan of at Crunchy Red Fruit. This is his 2021 Not Another Lovely Malbec, or This Is Not Another Lovely Malbec, and it comes from Mendoza fruit. This is a natural wine. I mean, you're going to get that in pretty much all of these, but you'll get that funk and a little bit of that tartness and fuzziness and funkiness and maybe even some barnyard. But I am very sensitive to wines that are faulty and flawed. So when I've picked these, I picked ones that display great fruit and great richness and really interesting qualities, but without being faulty in any way. So I think this wine embodies that really beautifully. Malbec to me is all about dark fruit. It's all about blackberry and blueberry and plum. But then this one hits with an extra layer of tartness to some of those fruits rather than just pure syrupy fruit like you might find in, let's say, like a $9 storefront, gas station Malbec, which, I'm not going to judge you for drinking it, but I think that that's not as true of an expression of what the grape can do as something like this that's had a lot of care taken in its preparation. They even, I think, do a little whole cluster here, so you're going to get some of that funk coming off of the stemminess, and that's where you get some of those green angular flavors that really make it complex and interesting. There's a lot of leather here. There's some of that cast iron pan and blood and some of the things that make Malbec more compelling to me than a lot of grape varieties. The floral quality comes through on the palate quite a bit too. It's very lifted, it's very aromatic, both on the nose and on the palate. Man, this wine is like begging for hanger steak or steak frite or roast vegetables cooked on a live fire, which are all things you would most definitely have in Argentina, where the asado is a huge tradition, where everyone kind of gathers around outside, cooks things over live fire. If you followed Francis Mallman's cooking, you know what I'm talking about. This is the type of wine you'd bring to an asado. Great, pure, beautiful Malbec that just expresses the land and the place that it's made in so well. Please come to our warehouse sales. Come engage with us online. If you have any of these wines you liked, please leave a comment. Also, if you like any of the recipes that Pilar Hernandez has made, I suggest you pick up her cookbook. You can get it on her website, Chilean Food and Garden, or you can find it through us. Just email us. Really hope you enjoy this SUD release of South American wines, and can't wait to see you down at the warehouse sometime. Cheers.